Welcome to American Education FM, everybody. I'm Dr. Sean Brooks.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Welcome back. Back in the saddle, so let's get after it here. This might be a long one. Let's get comfortable and let's get into it. There's a particular phrase I came across a few days back, actually just a day or so into the Thanksgiving break here. And I want to revisit this because I think this is rather important, and it might be even something, again, that we, of course, are going to continue to see, I think, and something that we've already seen, which is rather interesting. And it was Cheryl Atkinson who wrote about this particular word a little bit. Of course, she's a journalist herself, and some might even say that she herself is even guilty of this very thing, apparently, that she has even outlined here. But let me read through this meme. And again, it's well put together and it's well written, excuse me, and it's well described. It has to do with what's called astroturfing. So, as you might expect, of course, astroturf being fake, but being made to look like it's real grass, and then it operates like actual grass. So, here's kind of the philosophical take on all of this, and it specifically, of course, has to do with politicians and the media. It says the following at the top. What is astroturfing? It says the following here, quote, a carefully constructed narrative by unseen special interests designed to manipulate your opinion. A Truman Show-esque alternate reality all around you. Complacency in the news media, combined with incredibly powerful propaganda and publicity forces, mean we sometimes get little of the truth. Special interests have unlimited time and money to figure out new ways to spin us while cloaking their role. AstroTurf is when special interests disguise themselves and publish blogs, create Facebook or Twitter accounts, publish ads, letters to the editor, or simply post comments online to try to fool you into thinking an independent grassroots movement is speaking. The whole point of AstroTurf is to try to give the impression that there's widespread support for or against an agenda when there's not. AstroTurf seeks to manipulate you and change your opinion by making you feel like you're an outlier when you're not. AstroTurfers seek to controversialize those who disagree with them. They attack news organizations that publish stories they don't like, whistleblowers who tell the truth, politicians who dare to ask the tough questions, and journalists that have the audacity to report on all of it. Sometimes AstroTurfers simply shove, intentionally, so much confusing and conflicting information into the mix that you're left to throw up your hands and disregard all of it, including the truth. Hallmarks of astroturfing include use of inflammatory language such as crank, quack, nutty, lies, paranoid, or conspiracy. Of course, I would say conspiracy theorist, too. We know that that's all CIA-designed language. It goes on, it says, astroturfers often claim to debunk myths that are not myths at all. Beware when interests attack an issue by controversializing or attacking the people, personalities, and organizations surrounding it, rather than addressing the facts. Most of all, astroturfers tend to reserve all of their public skepticism for those exposing wrongdoing, rather than for the wrongdoers. Become a wiser consumer of information in an increasingly artificial, paid-for reality. It then, on the right-hand side of this, says, and then there's Wikipedia, AstroTurfers' dream come true. It says, built as the free encyclopedia that anyone can edit, the reality can't be more different. It says, anonymous Wikipedia editors control and co-opt pages on behalf of special interests. They forbid and reverse edits that go against their agenda. They skew and delete information in blatant violation of Wikipedia's own established policies with impunity, always superior to the poor schmucks who always believe, quote, anyone can edit, unquote, Wikipedia, only to discover they're barred from correcting even the simplest factual inaccuracy. All of this may be why a medical study looked at medical conditions described in Wikipedia pages and compared it to actual peer-reviewed published research. Wikipedia contradicted medical research 90% of the time. You may never fully trust what you read on Wikipedia again, nor should you, unquote. Now, I'm certain that as I was reading that, there were numerous images that were popping in your head about who this describes. Again, put Wikipedia to the side for a minute. We know that it's not a valid source for much of anything, other than potentially dates. But beyond that, when it comes to the telling of real history, you're not really going to find it. That might be a jumping off point for some issues, but certainly not for much larger ones. Either way, there had to have been numerous organizations and people's faces that jumped into your mind when I was reading that. I think it's beyond obvious to say that a lot of these individuals, of course, exist on the left of the political spectrum. However, they also exist on the right, in particular on social media. And there are many individuals, again, who blindly believe particular memes that pop in front of them, and then they push these memes out there as if they're true, when in fact they are not. And then again, a number of individuals who are, I would say, nefariously funded by numerous other people to push a particular agenda and allow particular agendas to be exposed, while at the exact same time failing to see the forest for the trees. I think one of the other characteristics also, just very quickly, when it comes to astroturfers and astroturfing on other individuals, is when these individuals fail to be optimistic, even when optimism is patently obvious. And I think that we saw a lot of this immediately after Trump won the election. There were a lot of theories bouncing around, and I think I went through a great deal of them before the actual election as to what would happen before, during, or after Election Day. Now, again, what's interesting about this, too, I think, is that where these astroturfers exist, like I said a minute ago, is all across the political spectrum. They're everywhere. But you have to hone in on what they're not talking about and what they're not bringing up. So just very quickly, let me throw out this example. On the left side of things, they're never, of course, going to bring up the last 3 documentaries that just came out right before Thanksgiving, which was, of course, Occupied, the BB Files, and then the last one, which is also up on my BitChute and Rumble channel, Operation Amber Alert. The left is never going to bring these up. And again, we know all the reasons why. Now slide your way down the spectrum, all the way over to the right side of things. And why is the right not bringing these up? Even individuals, I should say, on, I guess, what people would consider to be the far right, they aren't even bringing up the BB Files. Now again, I'm not monitoring everybody's social media, so I don't know what they're saying or what they're putting out there or what's going on, but I have a question, and that's whether or not Stu Peters or Alex Jones or people like them have put out the BB Files and mentioned that on their platforms. The BB Files documentary was deleted from my Rumble channel days after being on there. I mean, it was on there, I think, for a couple of days, and then it was gone. Someone else deleted it, not me. That should tell people something about, again, Rumble. What does Rumble not want people to see about the BB Files? Again, I don't know, they could claim copyright infringement. There was no even email warning to me as to why they deleted it. So again, it still exists on my BitChute channel, but that right there should tell people that, again, on the spectrum of objectivity, the most objective one to probably watch, that discusses more in-depth and more multi-dimensional angles as to what's really going on, might be the BB Files. So again, I'm throwing that out there as another example because the astroturfing does exist on all sides of the political spectrum. Again, Alex Jones has nothing positive to say hardly ever. Again, even in a stage of victory, even when winning a great deal or having excellent picks be made by Donald Trump and the people around him for particular things, there's no positive analysis necessarily. And there are positive things to see all of the time. Let me just quickly remind people of something, and it's certainly a strategy that's been used in the past that works all of the time. I would almost refer to it, and I'm sure other people have, as the Fauci effect. See, when Anthony Fauci came on the scene, most Americans didn't know who he was. So what does that mean then? It means that the Anons and Americans get to work on figuring out who in the hell is Anthony Fauci. So those task force meetings start popping up. The media, again, immediately starts astroturfing and telling everybody Anthony Fauci's the greatest thing since sliced bread. We all need to bow down to Anthony Fauci, and we all need to trust Anthony Fauci. But then you saw Donald Trump disrespecting Anthony Fauci to his face on television during those task force meetings and reminding people, hey, I'm bringing this guy out of the woodwork again. So let's put him out to pasture permanently. Now dig into his past. Let's remind everybody who's starting to wake up who this guy really is. And then ask yourself whether or not you should do anything he says. And that's exactly what happened. I remember explaining that even to extended family members at the time, because they were asking the question. And again, some of these individuals were kind of asleep on the issue. They were like, so who is this Dr. Fauci guy and why is he on my TV all the time? That's a good question to ask. And when you start diving down those Anthony Fauci rabbit holes, they're deep and they are disgusting because he's disgusting. So when Trump makes a particular pick for his cabinet, people should go down these rabbit holes. Sebastian Gorka, that's a perfect example. He's a horrible person. The man wears Israeli Mossad t-shirts, for Christ's sake, on social media and takes pictures of himself bragging about it. I mean, he's not a good guy. I don't think he's playing a role. I just think he's a bad person. I think he's a spy. Now, with that said, there's also his latest pick to again head up the Drug Enforcement Agency, the DEA. This guy is apparently well known for trying to locking up a pastor in America who wanted to hold services without masks, without distancing, and without all of that communistic nonsense. So again, people are diving into his past. I would consider things like this to be the Fauci effect. It's happening on purpose. It doesn't mean that those people haven't learned their lessons or recognized that they made massive mistakes. I mean, this is a tough one to explain because we have to consistently remember that these individuals think that COVID is real. They actually still think it's real. I mean, Pam Bondi, again, working in Florida at the exact same place as this Chronister guy, Sheriff Chronister, Chad Chronister, actually, from Hillsborough County. Again, these are Florida people. So if they're going to be working together, I mean, I suppose that's fine. But if they don't do the job, it's going to be pretty obvious they're not doing the job. And sort of the nepotistic behavior between the two of them, coming from generally the same place, certainly the same state, is going to be beyond obvious to just about everybody. So again, as DEA agent, his job isn't to just go after fentanyl, which is what a lot of these articles describe. But the Fauci effect is still in play, is my ultimate point. And sometimes some of these people, again, are being picked to be exposed for what they've done in the past, to revisit reminders of what we can never experience ever again. Again, I don't know what this guy has learned, over the last 4 years. I don't know what this guy has, awakened to, and neither does anybody else. Is he dirty? It's possible. I mean, he's a Hillsborough County sheriff. Hillsborough County is Tampa Bay. Again, you either have to be the most morally sound human being on the face of the planet, or you have to be incredibly corrupt. Or somewhere in between, I guess. I suppose that's a spectrum on its own. But either way, the astroturfing is all over the place with lots of different people from lots of different angles is my overall point. And this can be something, again, as subtle as even a meme. A meme can be astroturfing also, where a person thinks that they have it figured out when in fact they're dead wrong because they don't do their due diligence. Let me give you another example of this specifically. I came across this on Gab, and I immediately thought, well, okay, it's a meme. I don't know if this is verifiable, but I think we can verify this by and large, and let's give it a go. So somebody on Gab put out the following statement. They said, well, that explains it all, we're effed. And then they're responding to someone else's post that says, no, Trump's a Jew, this doesn't work. And then they highlight one of Donald Trump's books, which is titled Trump, The Way to the Top, the best business advice I ever received. And they highlight a particular page in the book. And here's what the actual meme or page that they highlight says. Now, this is difficult to imagine, but just kind of do your best here. What they've done is they've taken the top of this page and they've put in their own reiteration, I'll say, of a particular portion of this book. The problem is that this isn't Donald Trump writing this portion. In fact, in his book, which is free, by the way, and is a PDF, and anybody can download it for free through a search engine, you can easily look up this particular page, and you can clearly see that Donald Trump is not the one who wrote this page. In fact, throughout most of the book, he has a lot of individuals write particular pages for him in his own book, where they are describing their own experiences and their own business experiences and their own upbringing and their own business advice that they received from other individuals that they are now giving to other people through Donald Trump's book. It would be no different than if I wrote a book and then I handed off a particular section of the book to somebody else and I said, hey, write this chapter for me, or hey, write this page for me, and put your name at the top of the page. So there are numerous pages in this Trump book where this individual, again, or numerous individuals, I should say, wrote particular portions of it. So here's what it says at the very top. It says, Donald Trump's book, Trump, The Way to the Top, published copyright 2003, states on page 188 that he has a personal Kabbalah teacher by the name of Etan Yardini. This goes a long way in explaining why Donald Trump is so aligned with the modern day cult of Judaism. Now here's what's interesting. Their typing of this is placed over the name of the actual guy who wrote this page in Trump's book describing his own upbringing. And the person who actually did this writing is a guy by the name of Guy Oseary. So on actual page 156 of the PDF version, it says the following at the very top of the page. Guy Oseary, co-partner and CEO of Maverick Recording Company. And then the person doing the writing is Guy Oseary about himself, Guy Oseary, not Donald Trump. So again, the line in question, it says, quote, one day when my Kabbalah teacher, Etienne, I don't know how you pronounce it, Yardini, asked how I was doing, I told him I needed a break. I was thoroughly exhausted, overwhelmed, and overworked. Etienne said, quote, do you know what you should do now, unquote. I thought he was going to encourage me to take some time off, but instead he replied, no, go work harder. The point that I'm making is that even memes can be lies, and lots of memes are lies. But again, it's also astroturfing, because it's an individual claiming to have the answer, and then all they're doing is creating a fake meme and a fake explanation of an excerpt out of Donald Trump's book that is completely and 100% inaccurate. And then taking this other person's, again, description and or meme and then passing it off as their own and saying, well, this is proof. Donald Trump loves all Jews and this is the way that it is and he's in bed with them 100% and there's no other explanation because he wrote it in his own book. It's not his writing. It's not his description of his own experience. It's someone else. So, I responded back. And I just responded back again, basically describing what I described here. I said, delete your post. It's 100% inaccurate. So astroturfing, again, can be very subtle, where people, again, lose all ability to even do a basic search and look up whether or not it was actually Donald Trump in his own book who actually said that. And the fact is he didn't. It was someone else. Let me give you another example of an astroturfer, and it has to do with Nick Fuentes. I've liked a lot of what Nick Fuentes has said in the past, but again, you can clearly see the astroturfing when he fails to see the forest for the trees, and when he has nothing positive to say, and then he goes out and says, I'm not voting. Don't vote for Donald Trump because XYZ. Well, if you listen to Nick Fuentes about doing everything, good Lord, where would we all be? So again, this astroturfing can be a large-scale operation, or it can be very subtle, and it can be endless degrees in between. Here was a particular post that was made on the Chan boards, and it's interesting. Again, it has to do with Nick Fuentes, and you can take it with a grain of salt if you'd like, but it's interesting nonetheless. Again, think about what these people have said. I don't listen to him, but I do know that he's not been positive about anything that's taken place, even before Donald Trump was elected before Election Day. So here's what, again, this particular post describes. It says, quote, again referring to Nick Fuentes, "He's deliberately positioned to poison far-right discourse from within by taking legitimate critiques and rebranding them under his clownish persona. Fuentes ensures these ideas become toxic and unusable to serious people. The 'your body, my choice' quote-unquote tweet and the rape memes aren't just poor choices, they're engineered cringe. This rhetoric triggers outrage from moderate and left-wing women, creating a Hegelian dialect. Misogynistic rhetoric, thesis, sparks feminist backlash, antithesis, leading to cultural division that isolates white, right-wing men and discourages family formation, synthesis. The system benefits from this alienation, especially as it suppresses white birth rates." It goes on and says, Fuentes isn't just bad for optics, he's a gatekeeper. His role is to pull effective far-right rhetoric into his orbit, distort it, and tie it to his cult of personality. This creates a buffer between the center-right and the far-right, preventing serious critiques of Jewish power or Trump from gaining traction. When he's no longer useful, the system will burn him, likely with blackmail from Milo or others, and the fallout will discredit the entire far right, leaving only safe, pro-Jewish conservatives like Shapiro and Crowder as the respectable quote-unquote right. This is Finkelthink in action, it says. The system knows they can't suppress rising anti-Semitic and nationalist sentiment outright, so they co-opt it. Fuentes acts as a clownish mascot, a pressure valve to de-radicalize and derail young men who might otherwise embrace serious, racialist, or third-position ideas. Instead, he channels them into his black-pilled pro-Israel nihilism. The crypto funding from Yosef Victor Nathan Gurman confirms it, whoever that person is. It says Fuentes isn't just a grifter, he's a deliberate tool to monopolize far-right discourse, discredit it, and lead young men into a dead end. His entire operation is designed to neutralize the right while pretending to champion it, unquote. It's a good point. Again, they make decent points there. You think of, again, the likes of Alex Jones, Stu Peters. Pay attention to what they don't say. What is it that they don't bring up? What angles are they not looking at? And then ask yourself the question, why? Is it because they don't want to be wrong? Is it because they don't want to think a particular way or think multidimensionally about particular things? I mean, if you want to take down an enemy, you can't do it by just running straight at them. You have to go after them from multiple angles, and you also, again, have to use the art of war clearly. So one of the things that you'll hear some of these astroturfers say is they'll say things like, there isn't 5D chess being played, that's impossible. How do they know that? That's like Rachel Maddow saying, that's been debunked. No one's even used that term debunked before Rachel Maddow started saying it, and then endless people, again, all the astroturfers, started using that term. Same thing with the term misinformation and disinformation. No one was saying those words before it was being astroturfed out there for everybody to repeat on a loop on a constant basis. When people, again, can't see the forest for the trees and recognize that there are excellent things happening, then that right there, I think, to some extent gives them away. It's not that they don't necessarily serve a positive purpose or can't. I mean, yeah, it brings into question, again, who's behind them, who's funding them, and what is it that they're doing. But my point is that astroturfers exist on a spectrum, on both the left and the right, and then, again, in an up and down direction also on their varying degrees of astroturfing. Again, another example is James O'Keefe. It's not that James O'Keefe hasn't done some good work back in the day, he certainly has, but as we all know, he's really not the individual going out there, putting himself in front of other people and actually doing the exposing. It's other people doing it for him or on his behalf or working for him to go out and find this information that people are spilling the beans. And they're usually spilling it, again, in restaurant settings over some drinks where, there's sexual innuendo at play. So again, he's gathering information from individuals. But is the information he's gathering really new to us? The answer is no. But where he also astroturfs, of course, is the way that he treated Justin Leslie, the Pfizer whistleblower. And if memory serves, all that information came out about a year ago, where he brought him in close and said, yeah, work with me, work with us, work with Project Veritas, you'll be fine, you'll be safe. We'll air your story. It's a huge story. You worked at Pfizer. You know that the shots are killing people and that it's terrible and blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, they didn't air it because it was, quote unquote, too hot of a story. That's astroturfing. When someone else, again, and that's, of course, gatekeeping also, where somebody else is out there and they're deciding what they think is important because the people around them who are funding them at a separate level don't want particular things to come out. So again, it's not that good work hasn't been done by some of these individuals. It certainly has. The question people have to ask themselves is it new? Is it really the so-called tip of the spear, as Alex Jones consistently likes to call himself? Is he really? And the answer is no, he's not. Because there are things that he will not bring up. So that doesn't make him tip of the spear. It's the individuals, again, and even groups of people, I suppose, although the larger the group becomes, the harder it can become. But people have to be vessels to be able to learn just about anything. And almost, again, apply the scientific method as much as humanly possible. I'll give you another example. I was describing this, I think in the last episode when I was talking about getting in an X group that was talking about the documentary Occupied. And John Minadeo, who goes by Handsome Truth, who I think has been kicked off of Twitter again, or X, whatever. Anyway, I think he's still over on Gab. It was the individual Dustin Nemos who put out a video of John Minadeo when he was trolling these gay individuals in these gay bars. So he would dress up like a gay guy. Again, it's not my approach. This isn't what I would do to troll particular people or try to red pill people. But he did this a long time ago, John Minadeo did, where he would dress up and pretend like he's gay in order to enter these gay bars and then basically bring a non-gay, non-homosexual rhetoric to these gay bars by asking everybody, like, why are you at this bar? Like, why is this so important for you? And then trying to figure out who's a pedophile and who's not, and then again expose these people and troll them. So Dustin Nemos takes this footage, he chops it up, and then he tries to sell John Minadeo as being a federal agent and a homosexual. And neither of those things are true. So, again, what's Dustin Nemos's motive for doing that? Is it for clickbait? I mean, is it to get clicks on particular videos? What evidence does he actually have that that's the case? Because again, you would provide actual evidence, not speculation or one's manipulated opinion. My point here, again, is that these individuals exist on all sides and they're everywhere. And people have to be very careful about the kind of information, of course, that they take in and what they want to believe and what they don't want to believe. Again, you've openly heard me say this, and I'm probably not the only person, but you don't have to listen to this either. You don't have to listen to my show at all. A lot of these individuals, again, who are out there astroturfing, they're saying, you got to listen to this, you got to listen to this. This is the only thing you need to listen to. You don't have to go anywhere else. Don't change the channel. You can change the channel on this show anytime you want. You don't have to listen to this ever again. I'm fine with that. I'm just trying to apply the scientific method to numerous angles here. Again, Dustin Nemos, for example, was out there on BitChute, putting out videos calling Donald Trump the Antichrist. Is he the Antichrist? I don't know. Maybe he is. He's trying to plant seeds in particular people's minds on a so-called spiritual level, again, to confuse people. Because it's possible, again, that Dustin's just confused. So no, I don't think Donald Trump is the Antichrist. I don't think that there's any proof that that's the case. I think people have a right to question a number of different things, but making a leap like that, or even throwing that out there, I mean, that's intentional. That's astroturfing. So I'm going to leave it there with the astroturfing. However, as I continue to bring things up throughout the show, again, I think you're going to see that this exists everywhere with numerous objects and technologies and people and groups and events and all kinds of things. Let me give you another example here, again, geopolitically now. Hunter Biden's pardon. Again, what has this done across the spectrum here over the last few days? You have people on the left saying this is a horrible thing. So you can't say, ladies and gentlemen, that there's not a plan in place to wake people up. People can't say that the Great Awakening isn't real. It most certainly is. If you have the left saying that the so-called president, who isn't the real legal president, Joe Biden, writing a, whatever it is, 14-year blanket pardon for his son, who is clearly a pedophile, a felon of the highest order, money launderer, drug trafficker. I mean, you can pick a crime. Hunter Biden's done it. There's an entire book that anybody can buy. I own it. The Hunter Biden laptop book by Marco Polo. Anybody can flip through that for 5 seconds and your head will explode. Now, with that said again, why would he do this? It's waking up endless people, even on the left. All of the footage that Karine Jean-Pierre, the press secretary, allegedly, has been putting out there and saying over the years when asked the question, is Joe Biden going to pardon his son? Is this going to happen? Every single time she answered with the answer no. So in one fell swoop with one stroke of a pen, allegedly, if that's to even be believed, all of this again has blown up in her face and the left's face and everybody else's face. And what's it also done? It's stoked the flames yet again of a dual justice system and an unfair justice system in the minds of all Americans. I think people need to buckle up for this to continue to happen, because as hard as it is to watch, as even I've said on my social media pages, we have to wake up the left too. Endless individuals on the left have to wake up to this also. They have to see this dual justice system. They have to see and understand the crimes that have been committed here. Because again, in writing that pardon, all of Hunter Biden's crimes have come out of the woodwork yet again, and the spotlight has been shown on all of it again. That's not an accident. The question now becomes, again, who on the right even is going to bring this up as being an exposure event? Again, how is Alex Jones discussing this? How is Stu Peters discussing it? I mean, I don't think I really care one way or another. I just think that there's more coming down the line here when it comes to the business of exposure before we can actually see hangings take place or any prosecution. I think we're going to get to the point of prosecutions, but we have to set the table here and clean everybody's palate for prosecutions to take place. People on the left have to see the crimes that have been committed here by numerous individuals. So let me run through again this Hunter Biden scenario very quickly. Again, I thought of this as soon as he was pardoned, and people started talking about again the Fifth Amendment, and if he's been pardoned, then the Fifth Amendment doesn't come into play, and he can't plead the Fifth because he's already been pardoned, so there's no reason for him not to, and judges can compel him in court to give up the goose and 1,000 other things. Who else can compel him to speak on this issue? And the fact is that it's Congress. Congress can now subpoena Hunter Biden again. And if he doesn't show up and spill the beans, he goes to jail. And if he shows up to spill the beans in front of Congress for everyone to hear about Joe Biden or other individuals and other business dealings, if this actually were to transpire, he couldn't plead the Fifth, even though it's not really a court of law. But what he also can't do is he can't lie. Because if he lies to Congress under oath, well, he goes to jail. So again, it's Zootsfang, certainly for him, and certainly for numerous individuals, including the media, who would have to cover all of it. And they would air it. Isn't that really what people want to see? This is why, again, I have a smile on my face. This is why this is a good thing. This is a very good thing. This is a positive thing. And this is not some delusion I have here. This is a scenario I think that the American people have to see. And if the media is going to be dumb enough to air it, and they will because they want ratings, they're going to have to air Hunter Biden in Congress under oath with a blanket pardon, giving up the goose on everybody and anything that he's asked about. If that happens, I'm saying again, if that happens, that's a big deal. That's really important. And these kinds of things, again, have to occur before someone hangs. This is just what we're going to have to endure. We're going to have to sit back and actually endure endless people who think they have it all figured out, continuously learn, continuously wake up and learn more, and then realize that all of this has been happening under their nose, but also right in front of their face, right in front of their eyeballs, and right next to their ears, all of these years, this entire time, and they were never paying attention. Certainly the media wasn't paying attention because they were astroturfing. Here's another one. Take Kash Patel, for example. Kash Patel being selected by Donald Trump to be his nominee to lead the FBI is an interesting pick to make for a variety of reasons. Let's start with the most traditional reason. In 2016, when Donald Trump won the election, during the time between him winning and Inauguration Day, he didn't put out some memo on a social media platform, any social media platform, and say, I nominate so-and-so to be the director of the FBI. Now, why didn't he do that? He didn't do it for a variety of reasons, I'm certain. There are two, I think, that are glaringly obvious. The first one is that you typically don't come into a position, at least you didn't in the past, it was sort of tradition, like the FBI is the most, stand-up three-letter agency, and it matters, and whoever's the director is the director unless the president decides to fire them, but usually they serve under numerous presidents. Of course, they're all corrupt, and that's exactly why that existed. The director stayed in the position because they were corrupt. And yes, they worked for whichever administration came into power, so to speak, because again, they were corrupt as well. But Donald Trump shows up, and he lets James Comey remain as the FBI director. Why? Because Donald Trump knew that James Comey was involved in an international spy ring to surveil and spy on Donald Trump's then campaign. So he lets him remain in that position and continue to communicate with the people he's communicating with. And then he fires him. And he fires him in May of 2017, a year later. So all of that intel gathering that entire time on who James Comey was communicating with and where James Comey was going and what was he doing, all of that was being gathered. That even came out in Q posts. Pictures of James Comey in London just walking around with Andrew McCabe and Peter Strzok and Lisa Page and all those people. That wasn't an accident. That was a massive sting operation that was taking place. There's no doubt about it. Ample evidence that proves that that's the case. Now you don't hear much from James Comey these days. He's still out there and alive, allegedly. But you hear more of the panic now from Andrew McCabe, who filled in for a brief moment of time after him. And then, of course, Chris Wray has been in charge the entire time. So why is it, again, that Donald Trump would pick Kash Patel? And certainly right now, when typically Donald Trump would have to be inaugurated first, and then meet with Chris Wray, and then maybe fire him upon meeting him after becoming formally president. Well, Donald Trump right now is still the commander-in-chief lawfully. Has been since 2020. And has been certainly since 2021, when he signed the Insurrection Act. This is my opinion. I'm not the only person who shares this opinion. But again, think of astroturfers and what they aren't bringing up, and what they're not thinking about, and letting other people bring up, and letting other people think about. And roll around again in their own heads. This is one of those things they never bring up. But bringing Kash Patel in also for another reason, is immensely important. Kash Patel has been on X22 Spotlight with Dave from X22 Report numerous times, at least 12 in the last year plus. That's a big deal, because Q drops get discussed on that platform. And here comes Kash Patel, who has even talked about the Q operation being a very good thing. I've played this audio in past war videos, certainly in Monday night's war video. This information is out there. Guess who else has been on Dave on X22 Report and the Spotlight interviews? Don Jr. and Eric Trump. This is not an accident. Again, Donald Trump has retweeted or rather retruthed posts on his Truth Social account having to do with Q drops and individuals who follow Q drops and Q memes and a number of other related things. This is not an accident. This is causing endless people to panic. It's also causing the astroturfers on the right to lose their minds also, which is why they're not bringing any of this up, because it would delegitimize them when it comes to ignoring what is clearly at face value and is a way to learn and freely think and freely investigate, which is what more independent individuals are doing today rather than these gatekeeping conglomerates that exist. Buy gold, promo code this, promo code that. You have to question these people. These people need to be questioned. Again, is Kash Patel really going to be the FBI director? I don't know. But he's making a lot of people panic, and he's making a lot of people not talk about him either, and talk about all of the things that he's done this entire time that have been very good, and the places and shows he's gone on, and the things that he has said. I mean, again, that should wake people up to numerous things here. And I like the pick. I mean, I need to say that. I like the pick of Kash Patel to potentially be the FBI director. What's not to like? Again, I understand that people are like, hey, look, he's an Indian. Pick somebody else. Pick a white person. Look, the dude was on the inside during his first administration, behind the scenes. And then Q Drops mentioned his name and said, you're going to want to remember this guy. You're going to want to pay attention to this guy in the future. Well, look what's happening now. Again, when people say there's not a plan in place, ladies and gentlemen, there has to be a plan in place because it's effing war. There has to be a plan in place. You don't go to war without a plan, and you don't go to a domestic war against Zionists, which is exactly who we're really fighting here, without having a plan. But as I've said in the past, and as it's even been said in video game dialogue from decades ago, you can't shout from the mountaintop, "It's the Jews," at the top of your lungs and have everybody take you seriously. Because look what's been pushed in churches. Israel's the chosen people. Jews are the chosen people. They can do no wrong. But look how people are waking up to all of the wrong that's taking place. The genocide that's going on. Take this, for example. I know I'm bouncing around here. I'm bringing up numerous points, but take this headline. This is from RT. It was titled, Biden Pushing Ukraine to Force Teenagers to War. So says the Associated Press. It says the ongoing White House team reportedly wants Vladimir Zelensky to remove his objections to conscripting the country's youth. He wants the youth to be slaughtered. And the AP is even reporting this. Zelensky's Jewish. Ukraine, again, filled with a lot of Jews. This is not a good thing. Let's connect some dots here because they're on top of each other. They don't need much connecting. People are waking up to this. But it's also astroturfing, because this has been something that's been going on in Ukraine for a very long time. They have Ukrainian soldiers driving around in buses and throwing individuals in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and even 70s into buses to then throw them to the front lines to get wiped out. They're killing their own citizens by force. This has been happening, again, for a very long time. They're going into hospitals that are filled with the mentally disabled and physically handicapped and throwing them in buses again to throw fatigues on them, to give them a rocket launcher, run to the front, and then get slaughtered or give up. And both of those things are happening. But the media doesn't cover any of that. Neither does the right-wing media. Even the so-called tip of the spear, hard right-wing, listen to us, we're the tip of the spear media. They don't bring that up either. That's the astroturfing that's going on regarding that also. But let me play this. This is interesting. And again, I made reference to this individual in a previous episode and was breaking down a little bit of his comments again regarding Stu Peters and some of the things, again, that Stu Peters doesn't bring up and doesn't look into. I'm going to play some audio from this individual. It's 8 minutes long, so bear with it. But this is from a Val Thor on X, at CMDRVALTHOR. Again, this individual has different takes on particular things, and it's, again, worth considering. So just give this a listen outright, and then I'll come in on the end and mention a few things that he brings up. And again, you'll hear some similarities in some of the things that he has said and some of the things that I have said on this show also. So give him a listen here in 3, 2, 1.
Movement in America and worldwide is extremely heavily infiltrated by agents from the CIA, the Mossad, and other agencies. Their mission is to set you up or to create doubt and confusion and discouragement concerning Trump. One of the topics that they are now focusing on is Israel. I see that some powerful entities, organizations, platforms who pose as if they are truth speakers and freedom fighters, that they are now going all out to expose how wicked Israel is. But they don't do it with the right motivation. They don't do it to effectively end this evil rule of Israel. They do it to set up America against Trump. Because Trump has no choice. He has no option but to act as if he's on the side of the Zionists. Because all America and all people in government, they're all Zionists. So he has no other choice. He has to play this. And this is being used now by the cabal, by the deep state actors, by the traders, by those who are wearing a mask in the freedom movement to attack him. I want you to be aware of this. There are coming very, very powerful exposures of what Israel really is, and that's good. That is needed. I also made a film which exploded worldwide, which is considered to be the #1 film in the world that reveals the actual nature and actual purpose of Israel, that it is literally set up by the Rothschilds to become their headquarters of a one world government, a one world Zionist government. It's the Zionists who are at the head of the vaccine industry, at the head of Big Pharma, at the head of everything in this world that's evil. It's always headed up by Zionists, people who have dual citizenship with their own country and with Israel. And they serve this agenda to make Israel the headquarters, the center of this one world state, run by financial elites that are not elected, but that are selected. We have exposed that in The Mystery of Israel, and you can find that film on stopworldcontrol.com. But many more films are being made and published by actors that I know to be from the cabal, who have been positioned as control opposition in the freedom movement. I want you guys to be aware of that, and I ask you to please share this, okay? I think that I am at this point the only one saying this. There are several very big accounts on X. They have millions of followers. Everything they post has millions of views. All they do, all day long, non-stop, is expose the evil deeds of Israel. Well, that's good. But why do they do it? Next, they turn around and they start slandering and accusing Trump. And they want you to lose your confidence in Trump, to hate Trump, to distrust him because of what is happening in Israel. Guys, we need to understand Trump is president in the most Zionist nation of the world. America was taken over by the Zionists starting in the 19th century through a mind control operation of the Rothschilds, who funded the Schofield Study Bible, which literally said that a new Israel would be created. And that would be the fulfillment of God's promises, and you had to support it, otherwise God would curse you. This message has been pushed in an incredible way for the past 2 centuries in every church, every Christian ministry, every so-called prophet, every, all the big names on Christian television, all of them have been pushing this. If you don't support Israel, God will curse you. So this has become the motto of the whole voter base of Donald Trump. Of course, he has to act as if that he's supporting Israel. But I know as a fact, and we will witness this in the coming years, that there is a plan in action to expose Israel, but in such a way that it will not make Donald Trump look bad. It will not, put the blame on him. He will, in the minds of the people of America, will still be the one who did the right thing by supporting Israel. It's like with the vaccines. He released the vaccines 9 years sooner than the cabal had planned, because they wanted 10 years of lockdowns. And you can see that in my film, Warp Speed Stop the FEMA Camps. Go to stopwarcontrol.com and you'll see it there. Warp Speed Stop the FEMA Camps. And Chad Vivas explains it in a brilliant way in this film. Trump released the vaccines because all of humanity was demanding it. Everybody was crying out for it. The World Health Organization, the United Nations, all the news media, the entire world, everything and everyone was crying out, only a vaccine will save us, nothing else. So Trump had to release that vaccine if he wanted to save the world. Their agenda was to keep the world in 10 years of lockdowns by constant new virus variants, which would be blamed on the unvaccinated, who would then be put in the FEMA camps, and then they could continue the lockdowns through these ongoing virus variants until America was completely devastated and destroyed, and then they could implement their New World Order and their Great Reset. That is why Klaus Schwab had said, by 2030, you will own nothing. You'll have no privacy. Trump totally crashed that plan. Okay, so Trump knows what he's doing. He knows what he is doing. So please, guys, listen to me. I ask you to please share this video, because I haven't seen anybody in the whole Patriot or Truth movement who is really awake to how we are being played by these big accounts, by some major voices who have an enormous following. They make fantastic films. They have been exposing the vaccines better than anybody else. But it was all with the agenda to accuse Trump, to attack Trump, to try and set everybody up against Trump. He released the vaccines. He is the mass murderer. He supports Israel. He is a Zionist. Instead of looking at what he's really doing, he is destroying every single aspect of the cabal. He takes away their mind control operation through the news media by exposing them as fake news. He is going to end the income tax. He is taking America away from the World Health Organization. He's going to completely abolish the climate change hoax. He is literally destroying every single stronghold of the cabal. So, of course, he's not on their side. And they hate him. They try to destroy him. So we have to think a little bit, people. But our movement is being heavily infiltrated, and most people don't understand it. A film will come out about Israel from Stu Peters. This film is meant to set you up against Trump. It's going to be a very powerful film, packed with truth. But the underlying motivation, the underlying agenda is to accuse Trump, so that everybody would again lose confidence in him, and he would not have the people behind him. I want to ask you to be wise and intelligent and see what's going on in our movement. Look at what Trump is doing. There's no way that he's evil, but he has no other option but to play a certain game in the most Zionist nation of America, surrounded by everything. But there's Zionists everywhere. The House, the Congress, Senate, they're all Zionists. Okay, so he has to play this role. Let's please be wise and look at what Trump is really doing. RFK is going to end the poisoning, end the chemtrails. They are completely removing all the corruption from America, and it will happen in the whole world. Look at what they're doing, and don't fall over the fact that they have to play a strategic game. Thank you very much.
Okay, so first of all, that's difficult to disagree with. I tend to agree with that. What I can't prove is I cannot prove that Stu Peters is a Mossad agent of some kind, or infiltrated by Mossad agents, or funded by them, or anything like that. I mean, I can't prove that. And I'm not going to go out on a limb and say, that's 100% correct. Like I said in the last episode, it's possible that Stu Peters just doesn't want to be wrong. It's possible that he just doesn't want more information. Again, it's pretty clear that Stu Peters didn't pay attention to the Q posts when they were coming out starting in 2017. It's pretty obvious that he wasn't paying attention to any of that. I mean, he came on board regarding a number of issues really late, as a matter of fact. I'm glad that he was a hub for all of the vaccine bioweapon stuff. That's awesome. And again, he woke up a great deal of people regarding that issue, and he had a lot of people on his show. And like I've said in the past, I mean, that was a good thing, but I have no proof that he's a Mossad agent. With that said, let me get into a couple of points that this Thor guy just made. He made one very good one, actually two huge ones, I think. The first one is that this entire thing that's taking place, the real enemy here, is the brainwashing that has been going on from the Zionists, from, of course, many of them are Jews, which we know, some are not, but many of them are. That's really the largest issue here. And as he said, Donald Trump broke down the media, calling them fake news, saying you lie. By doing that, he immediately woke up numerous individuals. Now you have to take into account the Christian churches, so to speak, and even the Catholic churches, and the quote-unquote evangelicals, okay? All of these Scofield Bible-worshipping individuals who have been told for centuries now that the Jews are the chosen people, they can do no wrong, they've been victimized because that's just what happens to them just 'cause. Tearing down that brainwashing has to be a delicate process. Yes, people are going to lose their lives in the process of that unbrainwashing and that deprogramming. That has to be the case. But like I've said in past episodes, and I'm telling you, I mean, this is a very cool thing that took place last Saturday. But I was sitting down again to watch basically my first day of watching college football all year, or any sporting event for that matter. And in the crowd behind the college game day guys, Kirk Herbstreit, Lee Corso, all of them, it's very typical, of course, for a lot of the students at the university, wherever they're located, to hold up signs and to have signs everywhere. There were at least 4 massive signs very strategically placed behind these individuals that were pro-Jesus, anti-church signs. I threw a couple of pictures of them up on my social media platforms. Again, I thought they were awesome. One of them said something like, don't worry, Jesus is always there for you. Look for Jesus, not for the church. Again, I'm paraphrasing the sign, but that's what it was. Look to Jesus, not the church. It's an excellent message. Because it's the churches that have been infiltrated by Zionists and this messaging. That's why they're all on the same, by and large. It's not all of them. But it's why most of them are certainly on the Zionist train. Waving the Israeli flag. They're our greatest ally. It's a Judeo-Christian country, quote unquote. All of this is a lie. And that's a lot of people who believe that lie, and a lot of people who attend those churches. They're well-meaning Americans. They don't necessarily want to harm anybody, but they're brainwashed. Because that's what brainwashing does. It gets people to believe things that aren't real and then live their entire lives believing things that aren't real. And then again, they make endless decisions, and again, we've all been there regarding one issue or another. But that's a massive swath of the American population. And there's even been audio, and there was audio of Donald Trump at Turning Point USA before the election saying, look, Christians, you got to get out there and vote. You got to get out there and vote. And he openly says something like, I'm not a Christian, but you got to get out there and vote, and you got to get out there and vote. And once you do, all this will get fixed, and all this election nonsense will get fixed. And you not voting will get fixed, and you won't have to vote again, and it won't be like this ever again, and a number of other things. It was kind of a confusing message, and again, it's bouncing around social media, and people are trying to pick it apart and see what it all means. But again, as the individual just said in the audio there, where again, he's staring into his phone and talking for 8 straight minutes about what's going on and his take on things, his point about the church is massive. It's a very important point. We're talking about brainwashing. We're talking about these individuals being institutionalized so deeply and attending these churches for so long, it would frankly almost be no different, to some extent, than being stuck in an American K-12 school, long past being 18 years old. From the age of 5 all the way through, let's say, 40 years old. I mean, the amount of things that you're going to believe that are not real, certainly on a global perspective, are going to be massive and endless. But there has to be some deprogramming that takes place here. The BB Files, I think, does a great job of that. You see these individuals as being the criminals that they are. It begs the question, of course, like I said earlier, why are people not pushing the BB Files documentary as much as they should be? Again, take this into consideration. You have Donald Trump, who, of course, used to have his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, as one of his top advisors in the White House. I think it's safe to say that people didn't like him from the get-go for a variety of reasons. He's a Zionist to absolute no end, which is terrible. But now Donald Trump has apparently appointed as an ambassador to France Charles Kushner, which is Jared Kushner's son. It says here again from the Gateway Pundit, it says in 2005, Charles Kushner was convicted of illegal campaign contributions, tax evasion, and witness tampering, charges that stemmed partially from hiring a prostitute to entrap a witness. Now again, it's a very Jewish thing to do, but at the exact same time, who owns whom in that situation? Do the Kushners own Donald Trump in this situation? Does Jared Kushner really have any influence with Donald Trump now? Or does Donald Trump own Jared Kushner and Charles Kushner now? Because Donald Trump was the one who wrote the pardon in 2020. Again, I would consider individuals to take in that angle. Like I said earlier with the BB Files documentary. Does Miriam Adelson really own Donald Trump? Or does Donald Trump own Miriam Adelson? Because Miriam Adelson is implicated, I should say, as, again, providing illegal campaign contributions and political contributions to the Netanyahus. So who owns whom? This is, again, a wavelength of thought that you're not going to hear from the Stu Peters or Alex Joneses of the world. I'm not putting myself anywhere close to those individuals, certainly on an audience standpoint or promo codes or any of that other nonsense. That's not the point. I'm just trying to get people to see that there's multiple angles to things. I'm not trying to confuse people here. I'm trying to simply say that if you dive into this information and you sift through it, there's some interesting angles that are rather obvious. But again, much like Astroturfing, it's obvious to me who doesn't bring some of this up. They just see it one-dimensionally. Again, some of us out here are trying to play, not because we want to, but because this is just the way that we think, and this is the way that we see particular things. We're out here playing Modern Warfare on a PlayStation 5, and some people are still playing Asteroids on a quarter machine. So, again, God bless them, I suppose, but there's more going on here. There's always more going on. And it's not all doom and gloom either. I mean, that's a big takeaway also. There's endless positive things taking place here, even at one dimension face value. Again, it is the Great Awakening. You've heard me say it a million times before. This ball is controlled by Jesus, and it's been kicked down the hill here. And nobody can catch up to it and stop it. No one can pop it. It's just going to continue to wake people up, because that's what the truth always does. The truth is the best form of propaganda, always has been. There were very good Germans back in the day who said the exact same thing, and they knew what they were talking about, like Dr. Goebbels and endless other individuals. They were well aware. If you want to wake up the masses, you have to tell them the truth. They had a different approach back then. They, of course, were telling everybody what was happening at face value all of the time, but that was a long time ago. That was before the television. So now, of course, because the brainwashing has been set in here for the last 80 plus years, I mean, goodness gracious, that's more brainwashing. And that's going to take a little more time. So pay attention to the good stuff that's happening, because there is a lot of good stuff taking place here. But unfortunately, yeah, some people are just going to be stuck in the matrix for a very long time if they ever get out. And that's a tough thing to watch also. So we'll see what happens, but yeah, I'm liking what's transpiring here. I'm rather optimistic. Okay, on to education things, and again, this is also an optimistic move here. Because what it really is going to do here is expose the crazies. Here's a state of Ohio news update very quickly. I brought this up a while back, where I basically said that Governor Mike DeWine in the state of Ohio here, he has no power. He has no influence whatsoever. If he were to veto something that the House of Representatives and the Republican Senate wanted passed, well, then they would just override his veto. He's an empty suit, which is fantastic because he's always been an empty suit, and this is the end of his career, is just being an empty suit. So this is from OhioCapitalJournal.com. It was titled, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine Signs Transgender Bathroom Bill into Law. And what this does is it keeps all the trannies out of the wrong bathrooms. That's it. Requires people at Ohio K-12 schools and universities to use the restroom that aligns with their gender assigned at birth. It also bans students from sharing overnight accommodations with people of the opposite sex from their assigned sex at birth at K-12 schools. This does not prevent a school from having single occupancy facilities and does not apply to someone helping a person with a disability or a child younger than 10 years old being assisted by a parent, guardian, or family member. Takes effect in 90 days, and there you have it. Again, only the whack jobs are going to sue DeWine and sue the state of Ohio for not allowing this. That's fine. Let school districts align with those whack jobs, and they will. They'll all line up one at a time, and they'll say, we think this is discriminatory against transgenders and this is horrible. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Great Awakening. That's the public school's way of telling you that they're crazy, and you keep sending your children there. Why? The administrations are going to line up and say this is a good thing. Superintendents, school boards, you name it. They'll all say again that lawsuits coming down on the state of Ohio regarding signing this bill into law has to happen. That this all has to be a move that we make in the legal battlefront to protect the trannies. Any school district that aligns themselves with this or speaks out against this bill that's now law is exposing themselves. They're in Zootsving, so let them be. And then walk away. Because of course you won't have to play these games anymore. See, this is a move, this is a national political move, that school districts play now, that they never used to play before. But they've been doing it hardcore since the Obama years. That's not an accident. That is also a huge on purpose. To politicize the entire business more so than it already was to begin with. So much so that every single time a bill like this comes down the pipe and turns out to be a law, school districts will quite literally pull funds out of their own purse as a school district to donate to the lawyers who go after such a law. That when a law gets passed, whack job lawyers are always there to say, well, this is illegal, this is discriminatory, we can't have this. And then they ask all the school districts in the state who support them to fund them, and they do, like clockwork. Your school district might as well be holding up a giant sign that says, we love trannies, and we want them to pee and poop wherever they want. I mean, what is happening here? Why do people keep sending their children to these environments? Do they actually think that now that this political, ideological, whatever you want to call it, advocacy, movement, or action and behavior, that because this has been going on now since the Obama years, that all of a sudden it's going to stop? That you can somehow reform that behavior out of the minds of these people? They're brainwashed. They're not going to stop being that way. They will continue. I mean, school board members firmly believe that this is their job. Now, we of course know that it's not the job of a school board member to behave in such a way. Again, they send one of their school board members to the state level. They listen and pay attention to different politicians and different bills that are coming down the line that, impact schools or impact districts or what have you. And they, of course, have to report on what those are. But they can do it in a nonpartisan way. They can say, well, this is going to come down the line, so we'll just continue to pay attention to it and we'll follow the law and we'll act accordingly. They could just do that. But they, of course, never stop there. And they never want to. They want to tell everybody what their opinion is. They make it a partisan issue always. And then they, of course, ostracize those who don't agree with them. And they do so publicly, and then they wonder why everybody hates them. Again, they're children. They behave like children because that's who they are. They, unfortunately, again, believe that this is their job in this business because it's been transformed into that by, again, communists and the Jewish lobby and Marxists and all of them. Because, again, that's the entire business. So it's like clockwork. I mean, you can predict these things a mile in advance. And unfortunately, again, it has become the role of a school board member to behave in such a way. I've even read some of those letters that they'll make public and write out to endless people and say, we disagree with this. You need to agree with us because this is bad for us and blah, blah, blah. I mean, they've lost their minds. I just continue to be shocked that people continue to buy it and actually listen to these individuals and take them seriously. They're laughable. There was also this story from the Gateway Pundit. 70%, it says, of Biden education enforcement targeted Christian and career colleges. Yeah, demoralization. Demoralization destroys people. It destroys work. It destroys production. It destroys a nation. Now, of course, they did this with DEI policies, and they did this with religious freedom, and they did this with a number of things, where, again, this is going to be a bit of either a catch-22 or a purposeful setup to go after Zionists. Is all of this talk, again, about, well, we're going to go after these individuals at the university and college level, in particular students or staff members who speak out against anybody who happens to be Jewish. Well, they can't do that legally. And it wouldn't make them any different than, say, Biden, for example. Frankly, I think all of that's just lip service. I really do. I think all of the talk on the campaign trail about, don't worry, we're going to get rid of these Israel, anti-Zionist Jew haters off of college campuses and blah, blah, blah. I don't think that's going to happen. You can't do it constitutionally. If they're legal Americans, and they're not violating the law, and they have constitutional rights to free speech, free expression, without, again, screaming that they're going to kill people. Even if they said that, I suppose they could. They would be investigated to see whether or not their comments were, going to pose any particular threat, I suppose. But either way, they still have the right to say just about whatever they want. Certainly in certain environments, like walking around on a college campus. If somebody wants to say something, they get to. But as we know, it tips right into things like harassment. I mean, again, that's against the law. And schools and these institutions, as I've been over on the show, they have codes of conduct, and there's student and staff policies that they have to follow and things that they can and cannot do. But again, saying, well, you were at a rally and you criticized a Jewish person, so we're going to get rid of you and throw you out of the country or kick you out of the school. They can't legally do that. Not to mention, that's not a legal fight that the university would be able to defend. They just wouldn't be able to do it, I don't think. It would be very difficult. I mean, they'd make money the entire time while they were trying to do it and say, well, we get to kick this person out because of X, Y, Z, or this policy or that policy. Well, policy isn't law. And if a person, again, isn't breaking the law and they're just speaking, well, that's not a crime. And again, if they're doing it in an appropriate setting, like walking around on a college campus or having some peaceful demonstration in a designated spot where you can demonstrate, well, they can do that too. I think the real problem with colleges and universities is the Zionist infiltration within those institutions, playing both sides of the equation. As I've been over on the show, and as you're well aware, certainly in the documentary The Jewish Lobby, they play all sides of the equation. They'll dress up like Palestinians but it's obvious they're Jewish. So, yeah. They just do it to stoke the flames. Again, it's the old Jewish trick. It's no different than what's going on in the Middle East right now. They fund Hamas. It's the same trick, and I think Donald Trump knows this. He would be the world's largest fool to not understand that. And I think he fully gets it. I think a lot of people get it. Again, that's the real problem, regardless of the college or university. It's always the influence. It's always the political influence, the division. It can be something, as I've said, as simple as an email. An email works its way through every administrative office at a university, and just like clockwork, they all have to follow what's on the email. Just like the COVID lie, same thing. That's why they all went along with it. They all got the same memo. No different with a Zionist. Again, it's no different with any kind of infiltration like that. They all get the email, then they all have to act accordingly. So we'll see. I mean, that's the real problem. It's really the inner workings of what goes on. It's not the couple of students out on the street voicing their opinion. That's not the issue. The issue is inside the institution and the adults who are actually working there. That's the problem. So, yeah, there's that. Okay. Get a load of this, and this will be the last thing I mention here for this episode. Good Lord. I've seen these, okay? Now we're sort of into the jab-related stuff, and certainly the wireless body area network portion of the show. I couldn't believe what I was watching, even though I've seen some of these pop-up ads show up on particular websites, and I always thought that it was just sort of a AI-generated image, or that it was just sort of clickbait. Turns out it's real. So, throughout the weekend, certainly on Saturday while watching college football with family members, I'll make this little side note. The commercials are an abomination. I mean, I'm certain that everybody's seen these commercials that are on television. Good God almighty, are they terrible. I don't even have the words to describe it. Everybody's either stupid or they're smart, and it's a stupid person and a smart person having a back and forth. The stupid person is white, the smart person is black, the stupid person is straight, the smart person is gay, and vice versa, and every other which way you can possibly be confused. It's just over flippin' whelming. And then, of course, the emotional tinge of all of these commercials is nuts also. Two wireless body area network commercials that popped up, and again, I couldn't believe what I was watching, although I could, because that's what this is. It's all designed to normalize the insanity of robots telling humans what to pay attention to when the entire thing doesn't matter. The first one was the latest Apple commercial with a deaf father, or a father who is hard of hearing, or one of the two. And he's got the wireless earbuds in his ears with some app on his phone, or maybe it's just the headsets themselves. I'm not entirely sure, but again, they're all Bluetooth. So there's no wires connected to anything. Again, it's all radioactive, wireless, whatever, 5G nonsense going straight to his brain. But it's this overly emotional commercial of him basically watching his daughter grow up and learn how to play the guitar, and then he can't hear, or is always been hard of hearing or something, and then now he's watching his daughter play guitar and can actually hear her for the first time because he has these things in his ears and XYZ. So you can't just buy a product if a person were interested in just a product. You have to be emotionally guilted into buying the product, and you have to be humanized in order to feel guilty, and then you have to submit and buy the product, or else you're an emotionless hole. Apparently that's the approach. That must be the boardroom sales pitch for numerous individuals now. Let's make this overly emotional, and we'll humanize everybody. And then, we'll sell them our wireless body area network poison that they'll rely on because, well, we told them to. So there was that commercial, and again, I thought this is remarkably unhealthy. Again, it can't be good. Your wireless headphones, again, no different than any other Apple wireless headphone, is directly attached to your wireless body area network cell phone, which is always on your person because you can't be too far away, or else it won't work. Thereby, again, you being reliant on two wireless devices on your person at all times, no matter what, in order to hear. so they want you to believe. It's just incredible and remarkably dangerous. But whatever, Dad can hear me play the guitar, but he has a grapefruit tumor on the side of his head. How did that show up? Well, Dad's hard of hearing and it's by his ears, so it's probably because of his hearing condition that he has this giant grapefruit tumor on the side of his head. No, it isn't. It's because he's walking around with 2 poisonous wireless devices on his person all the time, directly hooked to his brain, in his ear hole, all day long, so he can, hear his daughter play guitar. It's exhausting. And if you thought that was bad, I assure you this one is worse. There was no emotional connection to this one. I just can't believe people actually do this. But they do, because they're brainwashed. The Oura Ring. O-U-R-A. Have you heard of this? Have you seen this? I immediately saw the commercial, instantly looked them up online, and holy God, not only is it real, but they're remarkably expensive. Anywhere from $250 to $500. It's a wireless ring with metal on the interior and the exterior that sits on any of your fingers depending on the size of ring you choose to buy, apparently. You download an app. You wear the ring on your finger, and then the ring starts to score particular health parameters based on how the robot seems to think that you're either behaving or how healthy it thinks that you are, because of a ring on your finger that's hooked to a robot. People spend money on this. This is a thing. Honestly, I'm almost at a loss, but it makes sense because people want to believe that this matters, that this is real, that this can somehow help them. So I have some audio to play regarding this. I found this just at random, this particular guy on a YouTube channel describing the Oura Ring and another device which does a very similar thing, where it's a wristband and it has, again, a chip tracker, pulse reader. How healthy are you? And what does the robot tell the human how the human is feeling? And you should listen to the robot, not yourself or Jesus Christ or whatever else. And then you just, again, download another app for this. And the wrist device is called Whoop, W-H-O-O-P. I would encourage people to look this up. It is alarming. Let me play this video tutorial of this guy on YouTube breaking down these 2 devices and what he thinks of both of them. At the end of it, I'm going to read to you, from the Oura Ring website and some of the verbiage that they use, and again, how they seem to think that this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. I'm shocked that people wear wireless devices on their body. Again, it makes sense because they're useless eaters and they would. But this is unhealthy, ladies and gentlemen. And it's unhealthy for the jabbed, and it's unhealthy for anybody. Again, it's if you fall for the latest thing, you'll fall for anything. So, yeah, give this guy a listen in 3, 2, 1.
Which one is better, the Oura Ring or the Whoop 4.0? Now, I've been wearing both the Oura Ring Gen 3 as well as the Whoop 4.0 for around 8 to 9 months, both on the same arm, putting them through their paces to make sure that I am making a fair comparison. Now, I'll keep it real with you. I personally would choose the Oura Ring, but let me break down both so you can truly make a decision that is best for you. And for me, I really do think it comes down to 3 main buckets when comparing the 2: form factor, health tracking, as well as the app experience. Now, when it comes to form factor, there's clearly 2 differences in designs here. With the Whoop, it's your standard fitness tracker that goes on the wrist. It's fairly light, and you can choose between a variety of different bands, clasps, hooks, so you can make it fully customizable. It also comes with a water-resistant battery pack that you can put on the device so you can have charging while on the go. It's also interchangeable with different apparel where you can wear it in the actual Whoop body clothing line, which I'm definitely trying to check out in the future. Now, the Oura Ring, on the other hand, is not your traditional fitness tracker. It's a lightweight titanium between 4 to 6 grams. It only comes in 4 colors of silver, black, Stealth, and Gold, and in the box it does come with a separate charging stand. Now what I really love about both is that they're minimal and have a low profile design. There's no screen or crazy smartwatch features. Both are durable and water resistant, with the Oura Ring going up to 330 feet and the Whoop is water resistant up to 32 feet for 2 hours. Now from personal experience, I definitely used the Whoop more when I was working out at the gym. I kind of was a little bit afraid of using the Oura Ring just because of the fact that I thought I was going to mar it up, and it's a pretty expensive device. However, I did find myself wanting to use the Oura Ring a lot more throughout the day. I just found it a little bit more versatile. I could go play basketball, ride my Peloton, and then if I wanted to go out to dinner or go to a social event, this is the one that I would choose over the Whoop because I just didn't want all this stuff on my wrist. I just wanted something that was nice, fashionable, low profile, and still was able to give me my metrics for the night. And if I was to say which one had the edge in this category, I definitely would say the Oura Ring would probably win out. Now, when it comes to health tracking, you would be a bit surprised that they are both very similar. Ultimately, they both have 24/7 tracking of your sleep and your body's stress due to activity. But what I noticed is that they classify the metrics a tad bit differently from each other. For example, Whoop has a recovery score while the Oura Ring has something called readiness. Now, this is where I started to notice some of the key differences as well. The Oura Ring definitely focused more on movement. For example, they have your activity goal progress on the home screen. They track your steps. Now, the Whoop, on the other hand, had way better live workout heart rate monitoring for a variety of activities versus the Oura Ring, which was just running, cycling, or walking. So if I was to say which one was the best in terms of health tracking, honestly, it's a toss-up and it would be a tie in my opinion. Now, when it comes to the overall app experience, you definitely want to pay attention to this because this is where they really start to differentiate from each other. The Whoop, the layout is super simple and easy to navigate with just a few swipes and clicks here and there. It provides a high-level view of your sleep and activity, and it's really highly focused around the strain and stress that you put on your body. The three main categories that they focus on are strain, recovery, and sleep. They provide a strain coach, which is basically giving you an optimal strain number to hit during your workouts based off your previous night's recovery score. They also have a sleep coach where they provide a sleep time and a smart alarm. And something to really highlight is they have a really dope community aspect where you can share your different stats on social media. You can connect with other communities by signing up or creating your own team so you can compare your metrics and stats, which can be kind of motivating, but also a little bit of a letdown because sometimes you're like, how does this person get 100% sleep all the time? Like, how? Oura, on the other hand, is a more in-depth and a bit more insightful layout. When you load up the app, they give you the 3 key scores of readiness, sleep, and activity. And then when you dive into each of the tabs, it breaks down the category even further, diving deeper into the individual factors that affect the primary score. For example, there's short and long-term contributors to your readiness score, such as the recovery index. Now, something that was a little bit of a bummer, it doesn't have like a coaching feature. However, it does provide a brief summary of what to improve each morning under each individual score, which for me is pretty insightful and actionable, and I don't see a lot of fitness apps doing that. Now, while the Whoop has a community tab and the Oura doesn't, the Oura does have a special feature, which is the guided and unguided meditations, along with helpful videos and content that explain the meanings and the benefits of the different numbers and graphs that you see in the app. For me, this is super helpful to break down any confusion around terms or maybe stats or metrics that you don't understand. Now, what I really do appreciate about both is they have great breakdowns of sleep performance. They each do the sleep stage breakdowns where you can see where your REM and deep sleep were. They focus on sleep efficiency, your disturbances, timing, and they also provide areas where to improve to encourage sleep consistency. They both also offer weekly and monthly reports. Oura's weekly and monthly reports focus on those 3 scores that I mentioned earlier and includes high-level trends in each area. And they recently released this new quarterly Oura review where you can understand your sleeping and heart rate patterns, the total number of steps you've taken, just kind of giving you an overall trend of how you compare against the rest of the world. Now, the Whoop has weekly performance assessments where you can look at your weekly strain and sleep performance and trends and areas of improvement. Their monthly performance assessments are a tad bit different. It's basically the strain and sleep trends over the 30 days, along with associated habits based off the journal inputs that you put in daily. Okay, so why did I choose the Oura Ring and how should you decide between the two of them? For me personally, I wanted a more in-depth, holistic look at where I can improve areas of my health, and I felt the Oura Ring gave that to me. And honestly, I just wanted something that was even more low profile than something that can go on my wrist. I have 3 fitness trackers, which can just be super distracting. However, when making a decision between the two, it depends on how deep you want to go in terms of understanding how your body is performing and operating on a daily basis. So really, you can see them in 2 separate focus areas. On the one hand, you have the Oura Ring, which is more focused on wellness and has more in-depth numbers and insights that you can dig through, while the Whoop is more focused on athletic performance and recovery. I see it better if you like a variety of different workouts. In fact, I'm curious, let me know in the comments, are you wellness focused or athletic performance focused? If you want want to check out my recent video talking about the 5 top Oura Ring metrics to pay attention to, check this video out right here. Or if you want to check out another video of my favorite fitness tracker, check this playlist out right here. Remember, stay healthy, be happy, and embrace the hype, fam.
Deep breath. Deep breath. Let's all just calm down. Let's all calm down. Does anybody else have a splitting headache after listening to that? First of all, this video came out 2 years ago on November 25th. It has 362,000 views. It's titled Oura Ring versus Whoop. Don't make the wrong choice. Well, I'm not going to be making any of these choices other than to never use them ever. The individual doing the video is wearing an Apple Watch on his left wrist, a Whoop device on his right wrist, and the Oura Ring on his right index finger. None of this is healthy. At the very beginning of that video, you may have heard him quickly allude to, and they even show a brief picture of this, or basically a quick video of this, of a woman wearing a sports bra, and she's taking the Whoop sensor that is inside of this $60 wristband, by the way. So the wristband is $60 alone, on top of the actual device, which I'm sure is far more expensive. And she's actually taking that device, that chip device, the wireless thing, and she's sticking it inside of her bra. So down the line, she'll get breast cancer. She'll go to the doctor and she'll say, I have a lump in my breast. What is this? The doctor will say, well, you're in that age range where breast cancer can be prevalent, and has anybody in your family ever had cancer? She'll probably say, well, yeah. And she'll say, well, that, it runs in the family. And then that will be the explanation as to why she has breast cancer. Not the fact that she's wearing a wireless device on her boob, in her bra, that is tracking her fitness levels and heart rate and God knows what else. That's not going to be the reason. It'll be some convoluted excuse that the doctor provides. The wireless body area network, ladies and gentlemen, is designed to kill you. That's the long term, but it wants your dependence first. Yes, it wants your money, and it wants you to be dumb enough to actually believe this robot nonsense, and then fall for it, of course. Because all of this is what? It's artificial intelligence. Remember the days, like, today, where you would get up in the morning and you'd say, that was a really good night's sleep? Because you can just feel it? Because you did the right things the night before? You went to bed at a decent hour, you drank water, you went to bed and you didn't wake up any time throughout the night and you slept right through and you went, that was great. Instead of looking at your cell phone first thing in the morning because you're sleeping with a wireless radioactive Bluetooth device on your finger, which, by the way, over the course of an entire evening isn't just waving in the air off of your person, it's all over your body. You're lying on your hand's under your pillow, up against your head, which means the ring is bouncing off of all parts of your body through a wireless network that is dependent on your phone remaining on in a Bluetooth distance related to the ring you're wearing on your finger. So your wireless environment is on wherever you're living, your phone is on, your Bluetooth is on, your wireless network is on your phone, and the ring is on 24/7, 365. It's just nuts. I can't believe it. I can't believe people fall for this nonsense. I mean, I can believe it. I need to stop saying I can't believe it. I understand why they're falling for it. But this is just asinine. The Whoop bracelet, it goes anywhere from $200 upwards of $238 depending on other wristbands that apparently come with it. But it's generally a $200 rig. It's so outrageous. I'm over here on Amazon right now as I'm describing these prices to you, okay? they have this. So I'm not going to say I can't believe it, because this makes complete sense that they would have this. It's a sleep mask. It's a Whoop brand. I don't want to say Whoop anymore. I really don't. I really don't ever want to say it again. I don't know who came up with that name, but it's stupid. Anyway, they have an ultra comfortable sleep mask, adjustable for best fit, boosts time in REM sleep. So you take the wireless device that's hooked to an app that's hooked to your phone, you stick it in your mask, and then you put the mask on your face. And then what? Brain cancer, vision loss, hearing loss, health problems, body aches, disruption in sleep, and then you rely on your app that says you were disrupted while sleeping last night. What could it possibly be? It's probably your addiction to the wireless body area network and hooking yourself up to all this crap. What is going on? What is going on? Oura Ring, Generation 3, Horizon, stealth colored, size 11 smart ring. $279. Do you have any idea that, you can buy a nice new revolver for $275. You can buy one for less than that. But instead of buying a gun for self-defense or against a tyrannical government, people are buying this nonsense that's making them ill. I'm not going to say I can't believe it. Not going to say it. I can believe it. It's so sad. It's so pathetic. The evidence is right here. Here's the other fun part. Both I'm going to say it again, the Whoop bracelet, there we go, and the Oura Ring have subscriptions that you have to pay for. So not only is a person bone dead stupid enough to buy the device, but you actually have to pay for a subscription to continuously use it. People do this. Get exclusive access to guidance that becomes increasingly tailored over time. Become a member for $5.99 a month or $70 a year for the Oura Ring. And new members get your first month on us. Woo! What an advantage. People pay for this. And they make up these parameters. Again, the very things that these devices claim to be measuring are immeasurable. You cannot measure them. You can't. Your sleep score. There's no such thing. It doesn't even exist. It doesn't exist. Sleep stages. Well, you were in this sleep stage for this amount of time, and this amount of time, and that amount of time. I mean, honest to God, what is a person going to do? Start using heroin? And then they look at their Ring app on their Oura Ring app on their phone the next morning, and they go, wow, I was in a really deep sleep. That's the best night's sleep I've ever had. Well, I better use heroin again so my score's, through the roof one more time. I mean, who's going to do this? People do this. What happens if you put an Oura Ring on all of your fingers? What if that happens? One on each, one on your thumb, pinky, and the other three. On both hands. What if you stick them on your toes and then you fall asleep? I mean, does it think that you're the Terminator when you wake up the next morning? You'll probably behave like the Terminator, for God's sakes. I mean, this is nuts. This is nuts. This is artificial intelligence in your face. This is exactly what this is, normalizing the wireless body area network. It cannot get more obvious. For somebody to say that this doesn't exist is foolish and blind to what's going on. I'm going to keep mentioning this. I might make it its own segment of the show. I'll mention it at the end of jab-related things, or I'll just combine the two segments. But my God in heaven, ladies and gentlemen, this is messed up. It's messed up. Spend $250 some odd dollars, up to $500 for one of these rings and a monthly subscription so that it can tell you something that isn't real. While you're hooked up to this wireless body area network and you're becoming ill and you can't figure out why, and neither can your doctor. Not to mention there's a whole nother charging port that a person has to walk around and carry with your Oura Ring. My God, depending on the size of ring you have, that depends on how often you use it, but it can last up to 8 days. 8 days without a charge. How convenient. Yes, you have cancer all over your body and your arms are falling off, but don't worry. Wear it around your neck like a necklace and ruin your entire chest cavity at the exact same time. I'm telling you, if anybody out there knows of any other devices like this that are designed, again, to, I don't know, masquerade as some health-related thing when clearly it isn't, please email it to me. Send it to me. I'll bring it up on the show. I'll look into it and certainly bring it up and continue to expose this nonsense. This is absolutely outrageous. People are falling for this again because it's being thrust upon them, of course, through the idiot box and through pop-up ads on their computer and God knows what else. It's absurd. What is it about human beings that wants them to be Transformers? I don't understand it. I mean, I liked Transformers, the cartoon, when I was a kid, but I didn't want to be one. I mean, what is wrong with people? Yikes. Okay. Well, I'm serious. Again, please email me if you know of any of these other devices that have different names that are equally as stupid as the Oura Ring, and I'm going to say it one more time, the Whoop bracelet, which you can wear, again, in articles of clothing coming out in the future. I mean, why not? More plastic poison clothing up against your body, super tight, now with radioactive devices implanted in them. What could possibly go wrong? Again, email me this stuff. This is wild. And all it took, honest to God, was like 30 minutes of watching commercials on TV to pick up on this. I'm so glad I don't watch television. I'm so happy. It really is a brainwashing device. There's no doubt about it. You can't argue that point. Okay, with that said, again, welcome back, everybody. I'm glad to be back in the saddle here. Thanks for listening as always, and I will catch you on Friday. Peace.
Thank you for listening to American Education FM. Make sure and check out AmericanEducationFM.com for more information. Take care and God bless.